I was chatting with some folks the other day, and a story came up from the past about what was the best revenge you ever got on someone. And people always tell you that being successful is the best revenge. Sometimes reaching into that mother effer's pocket is better. So years ago, I had this gig that when I quit, you had to come back in, turn in your uniforms and any equipment, and get your last check. So I was doing just that. Quit, worked for a guy who would run you 50 hours a week, pay you for 40. The cheapest SOB I ever worked for in my life, man. He wouldn't even buy shop supplies. He would quite literally tell you to take them from the customers when you were on the job sites. So about 9 months into that, that wasn't working out for me. And I decided I was going to hit the skids. So I did. Let him know I wasn't working for him anymore, and I'd bring back my uniforms, get my last check. Well, when I came to return the uniforms and the voltmeter that I had, I come to find he had taken the price of the voltmeter out of my check. It doesn't sound like much, but when you find out it read DC amps, those flukes are not cheap, man. This is about $350 18 years ago. So I decided, okay, give me my money. You're not gonna? I'll get square. We'll get square. Well, as I told you, this guy was a cheap SOB, so what he was doing was running red dye in all of his company trucks, red dye diesel. You folks know you ain't supposed to do that. And he certainly did, because he would fill up 55-gallon drums and keep them in the shop and then pump them into his trucks as need be. So taking this little bit of information, I was going to get square with him. You took $350 of my money, I'm going to take a little bit of your money. Well, I took a lot more of his money, at least the state did, than he took of mine. So I called up the state and I gave them the information they needed. And normally I'm not keen to ratting people out, but you fuck with the man's money, it's like fucking with his emotions. Don't be surprised when he squares up with you. So I let the state know when his trucks leave, what his trucks have in them, and when they needed to show up to wrangle them, because he was going to send his other guys off as soon as they rolled up and he saw something was going on. Well, luckily, the inspector gave me a call back, and he explained it all to me after the fact, which was awesome. So they rolled in there at 6 o'clock before they started sending guys out at 6:30, and he wrangled up all three of their trucks. Now, I heard the story. He was trying to send one guy out, and they caught him in the parking lot and had him drag ass back around. And on top of the fines they gave him, which is $10,000 per truck, there was also the fine of every gallon that is in the truck is a new number. Last I heard, it wound up being over $35,000. Now, the other thing is he also lost a day of work. And not just a day of him working, a day of his entire company being at a standstill. And he didn't help things, because he would come over and see what was going on as they were draining his tank, and he would jiggle the pump and make it stop pumping so that they wouldn't charge him so much. They figured that out right quick because they were keeping an eye on him. I let them know how shady this dude was. And that wound up tying them up all day long. It took them until the end of this guy's workday to drain all the tanks, because it was the state doing it and they weren't leaving a drop in there. And I'll tell you what, when I got that call from the inspector, satisfaction, some of the best satisfaction I've ever experienced in my life. I still tell this story today. It was 18 years ago. Now, what happened to dude? Well, he lost his ass and wound up having to sell his company within about 2 years later. And this had been a family company for years. He was going to send it off to his boy. Well, fuck you, Howard. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Quite satisfaction knowing that it tanked you. So, what's your best story of getting square? I'm not talking going and punching a guy in the nose, but using the law to your best ability, or whatever you have sitting around you that your brain can squeeze it together. You don't have to punch someone in the face to get square. You punch them in the wallet, and you're going to hurt them for a hell of a lot longer. Period. I normally don't do ones like this. Did I just say period like I'm talking out in frickin' voice to text? Well, I don't do things like this very often, but this was a good enough story worth sharing, so I figured I'd share it with y'all, and like to hear what you have to say about what's your best story of revenge, petty or otherwise. Y'all have a good one.